just traveling for 10 days, and 4 of those days were driving. We were just in a vehicle driving from Maine to Colorado. It was wild. But I will say the craziest thing happened. We were in Maine, and I've never had an issue or thought of Maine drivers being aggressive ever. It's really the massholes, we Mainers like to call them. People from Massachusetts, they're usually the ones that drive really aggressive, which makes sense because they have a lot more cities than Maine does. But we're in Maine, like in central Maine. And I was like half asleep, falling asleep. It's our, second day of traveling. So we were like 28 hours into driving, 29 at that point. And so I'm like half falling asleep, and I wake up because I notice my husband is like driving faster and then slowing down, and driving faster and slowing down. So I wake up and I realize there's someone riding his butt, like riding us hard. That doesn't sound good, but like really close behind us. And my husband is already in the left lane. The speed limit is like 70, 75, and he's going 80. So he's going like a respectable speed. We're passing people on the right, so we're not going slow. And this person's riding our butt. So he's like, when we're next to somebody, he's like kind of matching their speed, and then he'll speed up in between the next like gap of cars, and then he'll like match that speed, just not letting the person behind us go around. If you think Maine drivers are bad, you should see Albuquerque drivers for sure. We lived in Arizona. I don't remember seeing too many there. I don't think we've driven much in Albuquerque. But anyway, so he's just not letting this person behind us go. And this lady, it's this lady in like a red vehicle. She's the main driver, and she is like so close to us. You can't see her headlights, but the brief times you can, she's flashing her headlights, flipping us off. She looks so angry. And at one point, my husband's, it's one of the gaps. So he's going in the left lane, the gap. She flies over to the right lane, starts going as fast as she can. She has to stop because there's a vehicle in the right lane. She almost hits them, like gets so close to like hitting their vehicle. I look over at her and I'm literally just like stunned, and she's like flipping off, and she looks so angry and unhinged. It was like, I was just like, we're stunned. And so she flies back, gets behind us again, is riding us, like going so hard, flipping us off, whatever. So Alex, my husband, he just keeps doing this. This is his way of flipping people off. We have a toddler in the car, so he's just doing this to her, so she can see it through the back window. And I pick up my phone because I'm like, okay, we need to get her license plate. Like, I've dealt with aggressive drivers. I've lived in Phoenix, driven through that, Denver. We've driven through a lot of major cities and seen aggressive drivers. I can be an aggressive driver, but she's acting so angry and unhinged. I'm like, she's not safe on the road. Yeah, exactly. If you don't have patience, don't drive. Totally. So she's like, so I pick up my cell phone, waving it like this, because I'm like, I'm going to call the police. And I'm like, okay, we got to look for her license plate so I can call the police. So we get to another gap on the right lane. She flies over. Oh, and my husband also had seen the person that was originally behind us whip over into the right lane for this lady to come up behind us. So she's been doing this going down freaking I-95, which is crazy. So we get to a gap. She flies over. She flies in front of us. Her window's down. Her hands out of it, flipping us off, and just like, again, looking so unhinged and not just like angry, but it was crazy. So she's flipping us off, and she flies in front of us, and my husband's driving, and the whole time, he's just like giving a thumbs up to her. And then he looks in his rearview mirror and he goes, "That's a cop." Click, 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 click. And he like gets right over into the right lane, and this cop pulls up, starts chasing her down, flashes. She had total psycho eyes, Mark, total. So the police starts flashing his sirens, chases her down. Me and my husband are like, oh my gosh, no way. Like, we were just saying, like, how is there not a cop around here? Flashes her. She gets to the side. He like goes, and the police officer just like drives right up, like kind of drifts almost right behind her, gets so close to her. to pull her over, and we're just like, oh my gosh, like it was so like vindicating. Like I've never, like the instant karma there was so good. And this like HVAC van that was like around the area, like because we're now in the right lane, he passes us in the left lane and he just like gives a thumbs up to my husband, and my husband's just like going like, yes, like it was so good. And it was just crazy like how unhinged she was. And we can't figure out, like she obviously had been driving like that the whole way. Like there's a decent amount of traffic. It's only 2 lanes where we were. So we don't know like how far she's been just, riding people's butts, getting like cutting them off, getting around that, like weaving through. We don't know how long she had been doing that. Like I said before, the person behind us like quickly like whipped into the right lane and she pulled right up to us. So she clearly was doing that to him. So we don't know if someone else called the police on her. We don't, like, the police officer, the first time she went to the right lane and almost hit the person in the right lane, the cop was not behind us. So we don't know if he like saw her from far away, like whipping back and forth, so he sped up to catch her, or if someone had called the police on her already. Because again, like, just flipping off the whole time, just angry, like total psycho eyes, windows down, like flipping out, like riding so close we can't see her headlights behind us, and flashing them but oh my gosh, I'm just there like, I gotta call the police, this is crazy, like why isn't there a cop around here? And then just the fact, like, it was so perfect, my husband just looking and being like, that's a cop, and immediately got right over. And I mean, he was speeding a little bit, but the cop was hunting her down. And it was just, again, like, we had so much adrenaline, and we're just like, ah, and like, I'm in my family group chat because they all live in Maine, and I'm like, this just happened. Like, it was so satisfying. Like, I've never experienced a more satisfying, like, driving moment, especially dealing with like another shitty driver we saw plenty of those. We were on the road for 30 hours, so there was plenty of shitty drivers on the road, but this one she was easily the most aggressive, and it was just the most satisfying thing I've ever seen. So I can feel adrenaline. Like I'm more awake now just talking about it, because it was so satisfying. It was crazy. So yeah, anyway, that was just the craziest thing on our road trip, I would say. Yeah, I gotta remember to avoid Maine. Honestly, it's honestly usually fine. Like I said, we've never dealt with aggressive drivers before, but she was next level crazy. Like, I really hope like she got slapped with a ticket, like a charge. She could have gotten a charge for reckless driving. Like, I really hope that cop just laid it all on her, because it was crazy. And again, no, like, Maine is great. I prefer it this time of year in fall, because it's gorgeous and the weather's perfect and the leaves, it's beautiful. But yeah, it was just so odd, because this is the most aggressive drivers I've seen in Maine. I was born and raised there, and I haven't lived there in 11 years. But we go back and visit, and this is just the first time that there was so many aggressive drivers. It was crazy. Like, normally New York wasn't great to drive in either. A woman actually hit us in New York. We were in traffic. Perfect weather for me is around 40. Yeah, Maine. Go to Maine. You'll love it there then. And there's lots of lakes for fishing. Lots of lakes. But we did get hit in New York. We were in like bumper to bumper traffic, and this woman like bumps us, hits us from behind. And my husband we're immediately pissed. Like, I can't, there's no way a cop is getting to, like, we're just trying to get there. We're over halfway there. And she gets out of the car, comes over, and she was like, oh, sorry, I just had a root canal today, blah, blah, blah. And Alex is like, whatever, next time we stop, I'll look at the damage and see if there's any. She's like, I didn't see anything. Yes, fishing lakes, 100%. You can fish at just about any lake, and you can throw a stone and hit a lake, essentially, up in Maine. So, yeah, and hopefully you'll catch more than algae. But yeah, so my husband gets out of the car, checks the back. It's fine. There's no damage or anything. But he gets in and he was just like, yeah, root canal my ass. I saw her on her phone the whole time, on her phone in traffic. So she just was not paying attention. So that was annoying. So there's just not great drivers in New York, and Massachusetts also aggressive drivers. But Maine, there normally isn't, and there was just way more than normal.